Going into the ball game against Oregon, we knew that they would be very talented. And their talent proved to be about what we had thought. They're the #2 team in the country for a reason. And it was a big, big challenge for us. There were things that I thought we did fairly well in the ball game. There are certainly some things that we're disappointed in. And it's important for us to move forward as a football team and get better and have continual improvement. And that's what we're going to be focusing on this week. I'll go into that as we get into the media conference. Florida Atlantic, really played well last week against the University of Tulsa, and was very explosive, made big plays on offense and defense, and will pose challenges for us. And so it's going to be important for us to make sure that we have a good week of practice and preparation and clean up some of the things we didn't do so well against Oregon. The things that I thought we did well that exceeded my expectations as a head football coach, we ran the ball better than what I thought we could. And they had a very imposing defensive line in their front seven. And they moved around well on tape, and then when you saw them on the field, I mean, they certainly filled out their uniforms well. But I thought we ran the ball well, and there were times that we were able to move the ball in the passing game better than I thought. Our third down efficiency was better. Defensively, really wasn't a whole lot of things that I thought that we did well in. I mean, we had a difficult time adjusting to their speed. Probably the thing that we did do was prevent big, long passing plays. Some of the things that they exploited Michigan State on, we corrected those things, but we made them punt one time. Another positive thing was we came up with a big fourth down stop, though, and so some of those things to build off of. It wasn't pleasant. 48-14 is not acceptable for us. Don't care who we're playing, and we've got to improve on those things. And so this week will be a big week for us. So at this time, I'll open it up to some questions from the media that are not in attendance.
Coach, AP Harold 991 Big Dog in Evanston. There may not be a finer touchdown drive against a better opponent nationwide all year than the one your offense orchestrated in the first quarter on the road. 11 plays, 98 yards, 5.5 minutes. Comment on that piece of pigskin beauty.
I appreciate your commentary there. It's going to be important for us, the dynamics of the game. We talked about trying to have possession time was going to be important to help our defense. And so there were some third down plays that I thought were exceptional. And then certainly the touchdown pass to Tanner Gentry in the corner was well thrown, good protection, and a big play. And so, maybe I'm being too critical of where we're at. We need to win ball games, and sometimes to try to find some bright spots. I appreciate you bringing that up because that certainly was a bright spot.
Craig, obviously you didn't have Sam went down. It looks like on the depth chart he's listed, and Jake had the appendicitis. Was it late last week? Is that right?
Yeah, it was kind of middle of the week.
Middle of the week.
We listed them. I met with Tim earlier. We listed them. They're going to be, both of them are going to be questionable. We'll keep you posted day to day as we go. It'll probably be something later on in the week. Right now, today they won't practice. So we'll see. Sam's got a sprained ankle, and Jake had the appendicitis, and somewhere between questionable, doubtful, or probable is where it'll lie. Charlie Renfrey will go if those two guys aren't able to go, though.
Just looking back on Saturday, how do you feel like Charlie, performed when obviously, being thrown in the middle of that kind of atmosphere? How do you feel like he did?
I thought he did well. If you look at their defensive line and that kind of situation, that's a challenge, and so we're pleased. Now there's room for improvement, but pleased for where we're at. I mean, we got to be razor thin there in a hurry against a very capable opponent, so we're pleased with how we did.
How do you continue the success of the running game? Mm-hmm. You had great running with Sean and DJ. How do you continue that into Florida Atlantic?
Well, we made good progress last week. those guys are very capable runners, and the fact that we weren't able to put up a lot of rushing yards against Air Force, I don't think really had a lot to do with Sean and DJ's ability, their reads and things like that. It was, I think, a significant improvement by our offensive line, and getting matched up and getting man on man. We tweaked a couple schemes here and there, which were helpful, and we've got 2 really good running backs. We've got to give them some room to run, though. They can't just make 5 people miss the line of scrimmage, and certainly against Oregon we did a better job, and that will be important as we go into to play Florida Atlantic. We're going to be much more proficient on offense if we're able to run the football. We were able to beat Air Force, but we had to squeeze every play out and come up with some passing plays on the last drive, and that's not really our MO. And I thought how we ran the ball against Oregon is certainly helpful because that opens up a lot of our play-action passing game.
Along those same lines with the running game, I don't know if you had a plan in place on where you wanted to be right now with your running game, but are you kind of ahead where you thought you would be with that, especially how well you ran against Oregon?
Give and take, depending on the ball game. I thought against Montana we moved the ball fairly well on the ground, and then against Air Force we struggled, and the rushing yardage I guess indicated that. But I was pleasantly surprised when we popped some runs out against Oregon, and those guys were physically, I don't know, they were 6'8", 280 pounds, and they moved well. And so I thought we really made significant progress in the running game against Oregon, and we're in hopes that continues this week. So after the Oregon game, I'd say a little bit ahead of where I thought we'd be.
You mentioned, that you weren't, defensively there wasn't a lot of positives to draw.
Fourth down stop.
The fourth down stop, but obviously that's a good offense. But now you said, how we got to respond from it and learn from it. But look, that was a very good team, so I don't imagine there's a lot of panic. Is it just going back to work and reinforcing the things that you had done before? Or how do you kind of get them to bounce back from that?
Well, I think a lot of it is that's just a rapport you build up with a position coach and coordinators and coaches, and you go into a room and. What a game like Oregon gives you an opportunity to do, Robert, is sometimes mistakes can get glossed over, fundamentals. When you have as much talent as somebody else, then, okay, some guy's not in the exact right spot. Well, he's got enough ability to overcome that, or somebody on the backside. When you're playing Oregon, there is no margin for error. You have to be in the perfect place every time, and sometimes even that case doesn't get it done. And so what we'll do is show the tape and say, okay, fundamentally, structurally on defense, this is where we needed to be. And it's kind of like you can say, well, you got to work on this angle to contain the quarterback. Yeah, coach, I got it. Yeah, we got it. Well, you're playing that rascal from Oregon. If you're not in the perfect place, even if you are sometimes, now him launching himself at the 5-yard line and almost going, I had no answer for that. I was like, okay, we're out of, I don't know what we're going to do here. I'm going to vote for him for the Heisman right now. But I think competition brings out the best in you, and as coaches, it's important for us to handle that right. Our effort was there, our execution. And when I say execution, that's not all in the players, that's coaches. We've got to coach some things up, but that's going to give us an opportunity to get better. I think, as from a spread offensive standpoint, I don't know if there's a better offense in the country. And that's going to sharpen us. It's going to make us better. And we need to take a proactive approach and don't get down on our players. Show our players where they can improve, and we're in hopes that we'll look better on defense this week.
Craig, is it fair to say you learn a little more from a loss than a win? Is that a fair statement?
The wins have helped us to learn how to win here, to have some adversity, to work through being down at halftime, things like that. My best friend is a banker, and he says you make bad loans in good times. Sometimes in the midst of all that success, you don't get exposed, and this is an opportunity right now to where we have to learn from that. If we handle it right as coaches and we handle it right as a football team, we'll move forward from this and use it as a stepping stone, and that's going to be our approach. And the one thing that is an advantage with an experienced, seasoned coaching staff which we are fortunate to have, they're good teachers, they're good men, and we'll take a proactive, positive approach and get better from this.
What do you see from Florida Atlantic defensively? I imagine there's some athletes there, but what have you seen from them defensively that maybe concerns you at this point?
Well, big, strong, physical defensive front, guys that move around well, really talented cover corner on one side. I think he was all Conference USA pick last year, led the conference in knockdowns and things like that. So they have skill and speed. They operate out of a 4-down look. They'll rotate guys in there, and they play where they're supposed to play. And now Nebraska was able to get some big plays. Alabama, moved the ball on them, but they did a great job against the University of Tulsa. They had their quarterback in a real tailspin, and they came up with a pick six, and they got a safety, and they were just very aggressive. And so it's going to be important for us to neutralize that.
Coach, is there any concern? I know you play Oregon, you play Air Force, but the defensive ends haven't had a sack so far in 3 games. Is there any concern there, or do you think it's more kind of situational playing those teams?
Well, Oregon was going to be situational, and the Air Force game was unique in the fact that most of the time you're defending things for the triple option. We had pressure on the quarterback, but we couldn't tackle him. And is that a concern? There are going to be a lot of people who will tackle that guy. And we just got to recognize that our guys, there's angles that we could have done better and stuff like that, but you don't have an answer. Our guy runs 4.28. We're in hopes that this week those guys can come around, and we'll need to put them in a situation to where it's 3rd down and long where we can pin our ears back.